Jai. Tulsi Maharani ki jai. We offer our most respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees, who can fulfill the desires of everyone. They are full of compassion for the fallen, conditioned soul. Vanchikalpa Durubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnava. All right. Big crowd this morning. We should just give class in Sanskrit today. Only one person will understand. What? Oh, you can't understand Sanskrit? What good is a PhD? PhD is good for impressing people, especially satisfying parents. The parents are the most important people to impress, right? No? You have to live your life for your mother. So, anyway, think of his funny Sanskrit name. Matapati instead of Madhupati. Jayo Radha Madhova Kunjabi Hari Jayo Radha Madhova Kunjabi Hari Gopi Jana Malabha Kiribharadagoti Gopi Jana Balabha Kiribharadagoti Yasodanandana Brajachana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajachana Ranjana Jamuna Tera Vanachare Yamuna Tera Vanachare Jayarano Madhava Kunyabihati Jayarado Madhava Kunyabihati Gopi Jana Balabha Giribharadauti Gopi Jana Balabha Giribharadauti Yasodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yasodanana Nana Vrajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayaranu Madhava Kunyavihauti Jai Huranambadhuva Kunyavihauti Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Parvatikacharya Astatata Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Chananana Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananda Goti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadwaita Gadadha Shivasati Go Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sayam Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturadam Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Srimati Lalasi Devi Ki Jai Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Putale Shimari Bhaktivedanta Swamini Chinamani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pacharni Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschachate Shatharini. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 47th chapter, text 13. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. Sakritadara Sunam Swam Mohinim Payayitva. Well, I should do each words. Sakrit Adara Sudhang Swang Mohinim Payayitva Sumanasa Iva Sadyas Tatyaje Sman Bhavadrek Paricharate Katam Tat Pada Padvang Nu Padma He Ape Bata Rita Cheta He Uttama Shloka Jalpahe Sakritadara Sunam Swam Mohinim Payayitva Sumana Sakiva Sajas Tatjaje Sman Bavadrik. Paricharati katam tatpada padmam nupadma. Yappi bata richachita ayuktama shloka jalpai. Sakrita dara sulam swam mohinim payayatva. Sumanasa eva sajas tatya jesman bhavadrik. Paricharati katam tatpada padmam nupadma. Yappi batarita chita yutama shloka jalpai. Sagredadara sunam swam mohinim payayitva. Sumanasa hiva sajas tatyaje swaman bhavadrik. Paricharati katam tatpada padmam nupadma. Yappi batarita chita yutama shloka jalpai. Anyone? Nurum swam mohinayam payayitva. Manasaiva sajas tatya jaisman bhavadrik. Paricharati katam tatpada padmam nupadma. Yapi batarita chita yutama shloka jalpai. Sagredadara sunam swam mohinim payayitva. Sumanasaiva sajas tatya jaisman bhavadrik. Paricharati katam tatpada padmapnu padma. Yapi batarita chita yutamo shloka jalpai. Nadara sunam swam mohinim payayitva. Sumanasaiva sajas tatya jaisman bhavadrik. Paricharati kam tatpada padma. Yapi batarita yutama shloka jalpai. Okay. Synonyms. Sakret. Once. Adara. Of the lips. Sudam. The nectar. Swam. His own. Mohinim, bewildering. Payayatva, making drink. Sumanasa, flowers. Iva, like. Sajja, suddenly. Tatyaje, he abandoned. Asman, us. Bhavadrik, like you. Parichadati, serves. Katam, why? Tat, his. Padapadmam, lotus feet. Nu, I wonder. Padma, Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. Hiapi, indeed because. Pata, alas. Rita, taken away. Cheta, her mind. He, certainly. Uttama shloka of Krishna. Jalpayi, by the false speech. So translation, after making us drink the enchanting nectar of his lips only once, Krishna suddenly abandoned us, just as you might quickly abandon some flowers. How is it then that goddess Padma willingly serves his lotus feet? Alas, the answer must certainly be that her mind has been stolen away by his deceitful words. You can repeat. After making us drink the enchanting nectar of his lips only once, Krishna suddenly abandoned us, just as you might quickly abandon some flowers. How is it then that goddess Padma willingly serves his lotus feet? Alas, the answer must certainly be that her mind has been stolen away by his deceitful words. So, purport by the followers of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In this verse, Srimati Radharani continues to compare Sri Krishna to the bumblebee. And in her distress, she states that the reason the goddess of fortune is constantly devoted to his lotus feet must be that she has been fooled by Krishna's promises. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, this statement of Srimati Radharani's illustrates Hari Jalpa, as described in Sri Ujjwala Nilamani, 14184, Prabho Nidayata Satya Chapalyad Yupa Padanat Swa Vichakshanata Vyaktir Vangyashat Parijalpitam. Parijalpa is that speech which through various devices shows one's own cleverness by exposing the mercilessness, duplicity, unreliability, and so on of one's Lord. That's definitely Krishna. So, Om Gana Timirandasha Gananjana Silakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. So, we'll read some of the commentaries. We'll talk. It's got a lot of commentaries on these particular verses. And there's a lot of new insight in these commentaries. The bee seemed to say, this yellow color is my natural color as a bee. It is not the kumkum from Krishna's alliance with another woman. What offense has Krishna committed? He thinks only of you and does not see
another woman in Mathura, even while dreaming. Why are you becoming so angry? So this is, I'm going to comment as we're going through the Acharya's commentaries. So this is actually a fact that Krishna does not see any other woman other than Radharani. Now, how is that? We hear about Krishna's Leela, especially in Dwarka, or even in Mathura, he has this Kubja, and in Dwarka, he has 16,108 wives, so he's apparently seen quite a few women, isn't he? And in Vrindavan, he's seen so many women, all these gopis. So he thinks only of you, does not see another woman in Mathura. So this is explained in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. When you have Krishna, even though he's lying next to his wives at night, and he wakes up early in the morning too. He gets up Mangalarti when the peacocks crow. That's described in the Krishna book. Even at night, he's just crying out the names of his associates in Vrindavan, especially Srimati Radharani. And we find that Satyabhama at one point, because she had seen how much Krishna loves the residents of Vrindavan, especially Srimati Radharani, how Krishna said to Satyabhama, who was getting quite angry, he said, I don't actually love you. The only reason I married you is because you remind me of my girlfriends. And so this is the point. All these other expansions of Radharani are expansions of Radharani. Even Padma, who is mentioned here, the goddess of fortune, they're expansions of Radharani. So Krishna is actually just seeing Radharani in them. So this is a fact. The bee is not lying. What's seeming to say it. Not that the bee is actually talking, but the bee is seeming to say. So this is actually an important point. Krishna is only thinking of Radharani. And Radharani is only thinking of Krishna. And he sees everything. Just like, it's interesting how we see everything in relationship with Krishna. We should. Yomam pashati sarvatra. Sarvam chamai pashati. Dashaham na pranashami. Sachame na pranashati. Krishna sees everything in relationship with his internal potency, his Ladini Shakti, who is Srimati Radharani. So even when Krishna's relating with us, he's trying to engage us in service. And another point is, mentioned here in the verse, that Krishna, he's full of duplicity, unreliable, etc., like that, and mercilessness. So this is another point that's really, actually it's really important, that people oftentimes accuse God of that. I was listening to a class of Prabhupada's, not today, I think it was yesterday, where Prabhupada was saying that people accuse God of being very cruel. They say because God is controlling everything, so why are all these cruel things happening in this world? Why all this violence? Why all this war? Why this disease? It seems like God didn't design things very nicely. Of course, some people explain that, or some theologians explain that in terms of God being the prime mover, which means he started everything, but it sort of got out of control. Just like I've often given the example that I started this temple, and I can't control everything going on. I can't control all the people. So God is something like that. So people explain, some of the theologians, so-called theologians, explain God in that particular way. That, he means well, he's a good guy, got everything started, he's the prime mover, but, things got out of control. Of course, that's extreme duality. But Prabhupada explained it that even though Krishna is duplicitous, or appears, he says, I will reciprocate with the prayers of my devotees. He appears not to reciprocate with the prayers of his devotees. He's actually doing what's best for the devotees. Of course, in the Battle of Kur, etc., we have a lot of duplicity that Krishna exhibited, right? He lied, broke his promise a number of times, and acted very tricky quite a few times in order for the Pandavas to win. So Krishna does what's best, and that's why one may perceive him as being duplicitous. Another important verse that comes to mind in this regard is this verse, Yashaham anugrinami harishe tadanam shanai. For when I especially favor someone, even though they're worshiping me and they're thinking they're going to get everything, then I take away everything from them. And their friends and relatives, sounds familiar, their friends and relatives get really upset with them and reject them and can't understand them. Another point here is, why does that occur? That occurs because, just like when Radharani is stating here, Krishna once, of course, many times he kissed her, not just once, but she's just saying once because she's in this state of Divyanmata. When a devotee gets that taste, that taste of Krishna consciousness, he becomes disinterested in everything else. He becomes like a mad person. And many times, the members of the Krishna conscious movement are accused of being mad. In fact, that's why the deprogrammers were there previously, to save the devotees from madness of being Krishna conscious, giving up what was their real self-interest. Their education, their jobs. Of course, we encourage people to get educated. But, just giving up everything that was important in this life. Their vacations, they get invited by their parents to go for skiing or for the vacations in Abu Dhabi or something like that, right? And my son has become crazy because he got the taste, not the same taste of Krishna's lips, not that he kissed Krishna, but basically that's the taste that's given the devotees. When you first come to the Krishna conscious movement, Krishna gives you that really wow, this is amazing. Of course, later on you got to work for it. It's not that, it's amazing, wow. But you remember that taste, it's like Krishna leaving Vrindavan and going, leaving the gopis bereft, that she's remembering this taste. And of course that taste is not that Radharani is experiencing. It's not the taste that some mundane lovers have from rubbing their lips on someone else's lips, which is gross. I never really understood that. Just take an orange and rub it. What is the happiness from such a thing like that, isn't it? But anyway, it's not that taste. It's the taste of exchange of love. We project our mundane mentality upon Srimati Radharani and the gopis, and we think that, they're experiencing in the same way that we would experience from this kissing business. Isn't it? It's not like that. It's an exchange of love. The spiritual bodies, Satchidananda, interacting with each other. So we have to be really careful, because when we think about this, kissing, then we just project our own experience. Because I remember when my mother would kiss me on the cheek. Ooh. It's not the same thing. Because in this world, we are thinking of ourselves as the enjoyer of our activities. Like we were reading last night in the Jaiva Dharma about what's called the Abhiman. Abhiman means one's self-identification, basically. Abhiman. Like you have Abhimanyu, who's the so-called husband of Srimati Radharani. But anyway, so what people, not people, yeah, they are people, but the residents of the spiritual world have a particular Abhiman. And Radharani's Abhiman is that I am meant for the pleasure of Krishna. That's the Abhiman. Actually, all the pure devotees are thinking like that, but hers to the highest degree, which is Mahabhav. And our, or at least my Abhiman, I'm not projecting this on any of you, is that I'm meant to enjoy Krishna consciousness. I'm meant to enjoy eating prasadam. That's my Abhiman, isn't it? In this world. I'm the enjoyer. Ishwara Hama Hambogi. That's a sense of self-identity. It's interesting, this concept of Abhiman. We were talking about this or reading about this last night. That even though in the spiritual realm, the Goloka Vrindavan, there's no giving birth. Those who listened to my class last night will remember this. Yashoda Maya doesn't give birth to Krishna. So that's what creates the Abhiman of a normal mother, isn't it? Because she gives birth. Like my mother would always say, I carried you for 9 months to try to get me to do something. So she gives birth, and the attachment develops. What happens? Oh, yeah, the baby comes out. You look at the baby, right? And there's a bonding that occurs. That's why when the hospitals separate the babies too much, the mother doesn't bond as much with the child. So she hasn't developed this Abhiman, this self-conception of being mother. But even though in the spiritual world, there's no giving birth. Not Radharani, Yashoda Mai does not give birth to Krishna. Krishna is youthful there, but she has this Abhiman, this conception that she's the mother. It's an interesting point, this whole point of Abhiman. So Srimati Radharani has this Abhiman. I am meant to give Krishna. So when there's this kissing, it's a question of giving Krishna pleasure. Now, what that exactly means is beyond the purview of our understanding at this particular point. How does this occur? But it's spirit to spirit to spirit. It's all spiritual. So we have to be really careful about not just like putting this in our little minds and picturing Radharani and Krishna kissing. And that's why Prabhupada didn't like so many of these pictures that depict, there was one picture that depicts Radha and Krishna intertwined, and Prabhupada didn't like that picture. So, anyway, these are some of the comments. Let me keep reading the commentary. After making us drink the nectar of his lips just once, he has given us up. That's like I said, Krishna made us drink the nectar of Krishna consciousness once. What's happening now? No, but you have to work hard for it. That's the coming attraction. Another reason is that we might have committed offenses. So here Radharani is angry at Krishna. This is his offense. Though Krishna had actually kissed the gopis many times by saying that he kissed them only once, she expresses her extreme thirst out of attachment to him, extreme thirst to please him in that way. And because his lips are nectar, in spite of our suffering, we do not die. Krishna previously considered, if they all die at such a moment, then who will be left that I can torture? He's cruel, So listen to this. Thus he made us drink the nectar of his lips so that this does not happen. So in other words, she's thinking, Krishna made her drink, and the gopis drink, the nectar of his lips so they wouldn't die, because if they died, he wouldn't have anyone to torture. That's amazing. Anyway, that is the meaning of her words. Then, after giving us a taste, he immediately leaves us. You should consider that if he really wanted to give us happiness, he would have forcibly made us drink the nectar repeatedly. The buzzing bee said, but how could you chaste women become so desirous of him? Radha said, that nectar destroys our intelligence. That's the same point. The nectar of Krishna consciousness destroys our intelligence, taking care of ourselves materially. By tasting that nectar, our hopes in this and next life have all been destroyed. Tell that to your parents. Actually, your mother one time said to me, he just wants mukti. She said that to me. He just wants mukti. She said you can have mukti by doing your duty and working hard. So, karma yoga. But it's not that we want mukti. We want bhakti. Actually, people don't understand these things. Because that's their conception. So the only reason someone could be doing something, because the heart is so hard of people in this world, so they project their own conceptions. They think the only reason people could do things is because of bhakti or mukti, right? Or sense gratification, and they're thinking, well, if he doesn't want sense gratification and he's religious, he wants mukti then. But the concept of love, of bhakti, is so foreign, isn't it? It is just so foreign to people's conceptions. So they look at the Krishna, projecting, again, just like we project when we hear about Radharani kissing Krishna. So they're projecting when they see real devotees doing their devotional service. They're thinking they just want mukti, or they're hoodwinked or whatever like that. Brainwashed. Prabhupada said, the brain needs washing. So, Krishna, see, our hopes in this life and next life have all been destroyed. That's what the parents think. Krishna does not consider the saying, one should not cut down with one's own hand even a poisonous tree that one has planted and raised oneself. What he likes and dislikes is astonishing. Just as Vishnu made the Devatas drink nectar churned from the ocean, Krishna made us drink nectar, yet he abandons us just as someone like you, Bhava Drik. A bee abandons a jasmine flower. The bee said, but when he abandons you, are you at fault or is he? Radha answered, he gives us up like the bee gives up the jasmine. You should consider whose fault that is. We are also famous in Braj as Sumana, being like the jasmine, Sumanasa in fragrance, softness, purity, and attractiveness. And because we have splendid minds, Sumanas, whereas he is famous as being fickle like the bee, only interested in his own pleasure. I am not just reciting poetry. The bee, because of his fickleness, after giving up many jasmine flowers, becomes attracted or attached to inferior flowers. Why should we not become angry with Krishna just as we would with the bee? So, of course, this inferior flower, she's referring to as the goddess of fortune, which is actually true, but the goddess of fortune is an expansion of Srimati Radharani, because the goddess of fortune could not enter Vrindavan because she wasn't ready to give up her mood of opulent worship. The bee argued, it is well known from the scriptures that Krishna is without fault. Garga, knowledgeable of scriptures, has said that he is equal to Narayan. Radha answered, well, that may be, but how can that cover up what we see in real life, such as the way he cheats others? In other words, he may be God, but really what we see is that he's a cheater, even if he is God. Pondering this, she found a reason why Lakshmi serves him. Lakshmi serves him because her mind is attracted to the glorification given to Uttama Shloka. That means when he was glorified by his own men. So in other words, the opulent glorification. She's attracted to that opulent mood, not to the intimate mood. Lakshmi, however, is very simple, whereas we have been endowed by the Creator with skill, intelligence, slyness, and beauty. How can we be like her? In other words, we're much better than that Lakshmi. Much more intelligent. By making us drink, we lose our intelligence, shows Krishna's deceptive nature. He instantly gives them up, indicates his mercilessness. Like you, the bee, Bhavadrik, indicates Krishna's fickleness. By revealing Lakshmi as simple, Radha indicates her own cleverness. All the words indicate Krishna's ungrateful nature and lack of love for them. This verse is the same thing. This is an example of Hari Jalpa. And we already heard about the symptoms of Parijalpa, which means you're praising yourself and you're criticizing someone else for their craftiness, mercilessness, and everything like that. So anyway, that's commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And there's other commentaries, but I just want to say a few more things. Said that. Oh, yeah. Krishna is also addressed in these verses. This is another thing I found. As Madhupati. Remember that from the previous verses. It means many, many different things. Actually, it means the Lord, because in the previous verse it was translated as the Lord of drunkenness. So in this particular context, it also means he who killed the demon Madhu, Madhupati. Prabhupada gives this definition in several places. The Lord of the spring forest, which is known as the honey forest. The Lord of sweetness, because Madhu means sweetness. Just like in Hindi, you have this Madhumaki, right? Means this sweet fly, which is a bee. The Lord of intoxication, and also means the Lord of the bees. All those things. Let's see. Anything else I want to talk about in relationship to this verse? I could read more of the commentaries, which are interesting. Jiva Goswami says, because each commentary is actually unique. In this verse, showing how he is a cheater, she speaks of the cause of her anger. He made us drink the nectar of his lips and then gave him up like you, the bee. From this statement, his name is Madhupati. Yeah, what I was talking about. Lord of the drunkards is inferred, without having to show great hatred. Madhupati made us drink the nectar of his lips and then by force or some other pretense gave us up after enjoying us chaste women. Those lips were bewildering to the intelligence, causing great uncontrollable greed for him. The example is used not to compare how he used to make them drink, but to show that he gives them up. So this is more examples about the bee. The Lord of drunkards cannot be compared to other rasas, since his lips are made of nectar. But he gives sorrow to those who have pure minds, sumanasa, because of his bad character, while taking happiness for himself, selfish. Therefore, you should not remain friends with that cheater, or he is like you, the bee, and the drunkard, you are like him, coming from afar to take sweet fragrances, wandering about everywhere, and performing actions like kissing while making sweet sounds. Okay, so any questions or comments? We got one more minute. It's very esoteric stuff. I don't want to say stuff. Information here, and wow. It's very high. So any questions, comments, arguments? Yeah. Yeah. it's very hard, and the only way is through pure association. And especially, I find by associating with Prabhupada and hearing from Prabhupada regularly, that the proper abhiman can develop. Otherwise, it's not an artificial imposition in the mind. It just doesn't happen just by...
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Marhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Bhagom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Vasyan Dipan Kayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham
Namo Vishnu Jaya Krishna Napistaya Muktai Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Samaniji Namaste Saraswati Kurmane Pacha Negi Visesha Shunyavare Vasyachare Zacharante Nivesesha Sunyavate Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Siva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Siva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadada Siva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadada Siva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Jaya Radha, Arukanana Radha, Arukanana Radha. Jaya Radha, Arukanana Radha, Arukanana Radha. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Prabhu Nityananda Sidway the Gadadha Shiva Siddhi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sai Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturadam Ki Jai Jagadadha Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bo. All glory to the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is to Shri Gauranga Srila Prabhupada. Chaitodar Pranam Bhavamadva Nivaranam Jayata Karanam Vijayam Jivanam Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bauda Nija Sarva Shaktish Tatrapitani Matasmaranena Kala Etadrasita Bakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Dudaiva Midri Shamanikanani Nanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Taroriva Sahishnana Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitamba Jagadish Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmanishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Haitukitwaye Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patikamam Vishame Bhavam Buddho Kripyat Avapadupankajas Titaduli Tasadvisham Vichintaya Nayanam Kaludashrudaraya Vadanam Gadgada Rudiya Gira Pulaka Nichitam Vapukata Tava Namagrahane Bhavishyati Yugaitam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayitam Shunyayitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Vidahaname Asli Shiva Vanashtubam Darshanam Marmatam Karotuva Yatadata Vavadatu Lampato Matprana Nata Stusa Eva Naparaha. Victory of the Sri Krishna Sankirtan. which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is a life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking with devoid of all sense of false prestige, and to be ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one could chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen to the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he should remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me brokenhearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he's always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shikshashtaka ki jai.